call this meeting to order, October 24th, 2023, the Finance Committee. Let the record reflect, Alder Galvin, Alder Hutchinson, Alder Burnett, Alder Johnson are all present. Item C, approval of the October 24th agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion by Burnett, a second by Galvin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item D, approval of the October 10th, 2023 minutes.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Galvin, second by Hutchinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. E, regular business. 1, consideration with possible action to purchase from Baycom a certified 700 megahertz emergency responder radio coverage system in the amount of $51,092 to be funded using ARPA funds. Any discussion?
Motion approved?
Second.
We have a motion by Galvin, a second by Hutchinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2, consideration with possible action of the ARPA reallocation request from the Green Bay Police Department. Kevin, are you doing this one? Yep, please.
So we have, the chief's priority, one of the chief's priorities here going into 2024 is to create and implement a mobile response team. In doing so, in creating this unit, we have done this contractually. We are now in the onboarding phase of it, where we've got, 16 officers or so, trying to get up to 20 to outfit this team and then train them. In doing so, we are seeking approval for the reallocation of the funds to outfit the mobile response team with the necessary equipment. Chief Davis had initially put this in the budget, but then was asked to take out these one-time costs and find alternative funding sources for this, in which we are trying to reallocate approximately $175,000 to outfit the mobile response team with all the necessary equipment. The two allocations of the money, we had the overages in the purchase of the NIBIN machine, and then we're reallocating approximately $50,000 out of the overhire line or account that was allocated to the police department for a total of $175,000 for the equipment.
Are you looking to incur this expense this year? If you're pulling from the overhire?
Yes.
Okay. Staff, any, by staff, I mean Director Ellenbecker, anything, is it, from an ARPA perspective?
Well, I know you asked him whether or not it was to spend the money yet this year. He technically could really go through yet next year because it's really ARPA.
Well, for ARPA, but the overhire, oh, so this overhire was actually an ARPA allocation?
Correct, it was $300,000 from
Got it,
the
okay.
ARPA.
And the reason I answered that way was just because we're trying to be operational here in the spring of 2024.
Okay. Alder Burnett?
Commander Warwick or Director Ellenbecker, can you kind of walk me through in this little spreadsheet? I don't know if that's the right word, but the balance not expected to spend in the overhire was $304,000. Are we still doing the overhiring? Are we still committed to that?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we're definitely committed to it, and I should really let Commander speak to that item.
Yeah, the goal is always to use that money for overhire, but what we're seeing is we can't hire people fast enough. And I can tell you, I was just having this conversation previously, the people in professional standards have really worked very hard to try to get as many people in the door and and still maintain that high standard that we have. So it's not for a lack of trying to use that money for overhire, but we are realizing that we may not be able to use all of that money, and that's why we're asking for the reallocation.
Yeah, I mean, we allocated the money and it helped get to a point that we were at one point fully staffed or almost fully staffed. I know a few people left in the
Yep.
interim, but I mean, this is what we need to do. We need to be nimble with money and not be overly rigid, and ARPA was allocated for a purpose, and the chief has come to us at different times to reallocate some of the categories. So I support this as long as you're assuring me that we're still gonna have some money in the overhire budget for instances if we have a major, number of officers that leave at once, retire, transfer, something.
Nope,
We're
that's-
still committed to it.
I mean, there'll be roughly $255,000, if my memory serves me correctly, in that overhire account that can be used for that,
It's just that you don't have enough candidates right now to fill the positions to
to
overhire.
get over the 187 officers. That is correct.
All right, thank you, Commander.
Alder Galvin?
Kevin, this is that team that we want to have ready to future Packer games, events, what do you,
It's specifically designed for public order policing, for mass gatherings, First Amendment assemblies. It's gonna be outfitting officers on bikes, taking a totally different approach, and just really trying to make sure that order is maintained in the community if something does occur.
and this is something you see a lot of police departments on an international level implementing and using quite effectively, if I have been watching the news correctly.
Yep, that's correct. I mean, we really lean on Chief's experience here, coming from his previous department, and the benefits that this team will have, especially going into contentious times of the year for various events, various national events throughout the nation.
All right, and does this include the training?
No, the training's not included. This is strictly for equipment.
All right, how is that going to be budgeted?
The training,
Yes,
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to get back to you on
that's
that one.
fine. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Further questions?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Motion by Galvin, second by Brunette. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
That's funny.
Where are we here? Okay, item 3, consideration with possible action regarding a budget amendment resolution for unbudgeted overtime for special events.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion by Galvin, a second by Hutchinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 4, consideration with possible action regarding the 24-28 capital improvement plan. Staff, anything that you want to share?
Part of it is just the comments that I made on the report page. Just remember that this is a document that changes daily. You can talk to any department heads, either costs go up, something has changed. But this is very similar to a point in time that you looked at this document about a month and a half ago. I did bold anything that did change from the last report, that changed in the 2024 column. In most cases, it was just dollar amounts have slightly changed. Maybe a new bridge or a new road or something maybe got added to a program, which means they just shifted a program. But it's really a point in time. This is what we're looking at. This is where we're at for 2024 to 2028. I would recommend we receive it, place on file, similar to, because we've already basically looked at this document. And then the next step would be to really focus in on the 2024 column, and that would lead to what we think our needs are. And we have, that's really the next item. Then we would go into that, really be our next step for borrowing for 2024.
Okay, and I know Fire Chief reached out, and obviously there were a couple of items, but I just at least wanted to share that the Fire Chief had reached out because we had made note that the fire station was missing, and so he did edit and drop that in there with just a ballpark estimate of what he thinks it'll cost. And then, of course, to Diana's point, there are a few other items in bold that we identified were missing that we, even though we didn't necessarily have funding sources identified, or in some cases were already authorized, we still just wanted to see them added. And so we thank staff for doing that. Any other questions on the items that are in here?
Motion to receive and place on file?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Burnett and a second by Galvin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, consideration of possible action regarding the 2024 capital needs and draft borrowing request.
As I was starting to say in the last item, so what you just approved in the received and placed on file 2024 column, this information now matches. And what I have done is separated what is in the first column is the dollar amounts that was in the plan. These are the expenses, these are the things that we expect that we will be spending in 2024. First column is, or I guess it would be the second column, is right now the proposed borrowing, because we didn't identify an additional funding source. Third column is if we have another funding source that we've identified that we could use for this item, and then I put the description next to it. As you can see that our, many of the items we're looking to use probably general fund borrowing. The number is high. What I didn't take into consideration is fund balances. And some of our departments they really, in most cases, historically, we've waited till the year is over, we know what our fund balance is at the end of the year, what's left in that budget, then some of that number of money can roll into the next year's borrowing, and then that helps reduce the borrowing that's in front of us, that some of that fund balance can be used. We also have potentially other funding sources, if there is any other, maybe ARPA interest that maybe we could use for some of these items. Some, potentially, there's an item on here that we could be for discussion, whether or not maybe it shouldn't be spent in 2024. Let's see what other, we potentially, I mean, the timing that we're trying to bring these through at budget time is whether or not there's something that's on this list we can put into the budget. You know, you might have the opposite, there might be something in the 2024 budget, you just say, let's pull out, because for one reason or another, you want your budget to be a different number, and then we move those items back into the CIP. So again, this is not a final document, this is certainly just saying, this is right now is what's being requested for 2024. The first column is really the expense side, second column is, this is right now pending as the borrowing request. And then, it's, again, not a final list. We don't have fund balance applied at this point to some of these items.
Yeah, no, and this is good, and this is meant to kind of bring this process in alignment, so that really right now as a committee, joint personnel finance and subsequently common council, if we see things in here that we don't want to bond for, that we don't want to pull a note on, now's your opportunity to put it into the budget, which of course then would, you know, you'd have to come up with levy dollars to pay for it, but this at least puts us in alignment to be able to have that discussion. So just some clarity for everybody, because normally we don't look at it this time of year. This is the first time we're doing this. So if anyone's kind of wondering, why are we looking at this now instead of in the spring? This is why.
Last year, we did look at the CIP really in fall time period, but then we knew there was really no capacity in the budget, and we kind of dropped it, and then it ended up not coming back until spring of this past year.
Okay, Alder Burnett, you had your hand up.
Director Ellenbecker, you had mentioned fund balance, and that was something that I've been curious about throughout the year, because we balanced the budget last year anticipating revenue increases, and I'm not quite sure if we met those revenue projections with sale of property, increased inspection. Like, do you have an idea where we're at right now? We're middle of October, I know you don't have an exact amount. Are we in good shape to meet our budget from last year?
Yes, the last projection I did put together between, really, the two large increases are, we have some increases in, mostly in interest revenue. That will bring us positive revenues. There's a few other revenue items that are over. We do have some expenses that are gonna be also over, but my projection rate still shows that we are gonna have a surplus this year. Let me correct it, so that would increase the general fund balance. When I say fund balance, and I apologize for that, I did not mean to use any fund balance for any of these capital improvement plans. I will take some departments in particular, like 401 is pavement. And at that point, the director kind of has a rolling dollar amount. He gets so much for the year. These are the projects he expected to come in. Some are under, some are over, some don't get completed. So at the end of the year, he might find that he has $2 or $3 or $4 million left in his 401 fund.
Gotcha, okay.
That, he then does that calculation. So if his request now is 13 million, next year he's got 4 million, he'll say, I need 9 million for next year. And you'll have the same thing for the fire department, or the police department, or the park department, or DPW sanitary and storm. They look at the balances. We're doing this a little earlier, so usually I would have already, the department heads would have already gone through, looked at where they think they are at the end of the year on the projects that they've already completed. And again, I don't know if the director.
Yeah, no, I misunderstood. I own that. I think I misunderstood.
Okay.
The director, did you wanna, Grenier, you were?
Sure, and what Director Ellenbecker was saying is correct. It's especially difficult at this time of the year for us to try to estimate where those funds are gonna come in, because we still have active construction going on, and contractors haven't made pay requests to get paid out on the projects. We don't know where the change orders are and that kind of thing. So generally speaking, as we get a little bit further on into December and early January, we have a lot more firm expectation of where our construction numbers are gonna come in for the year. And as she said, we got projects that come in, and sometimes, you know, we'll come to INS and indicate that we got really good bids. Projects come in low, then we get unexpected circumstance on site, and a change order results from that, and then we wind up spending a little bit more. So it really is a fluid number, and it's gonna take us probably another month or so to get a better feel. And then what we can do is, you know, whenever Finance Department is ready to come back in with this slate of projects, we can then calculate what we think we're gonna have for fund balance, what we think we're gonna have for other funding sources, and turn that into a proposed bond request that this committee would be able to entertain.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
So right now, when we're looking at this, okay, so and this may be redundant, and so I appreciate your patience as we go through this. We're saying that in the CIP, we're looking at $64 million of needs, right?
Correct.
Let me see, but under the proposed borrowing is 51 million, but it's the sources that are potentially gonna fluctuate yet, right?
Correct, well,
Or do you
this
have,
number.
are you honing in on that already?
That's what, well, that we're starting to hone in on it. There's $64 million worth of needs. At this point, we have identified about $12 million. We know there's gonna be additional dollars that are left over in fund balance. I also wanna.
Oh, that's what that is.
Bring
Okay.
it to your attention toward the end of that document. There's a general levy borrowing amount, and then there's also the other funding sources. So right now, it looks like it's $31 million is, at this point, a borrowing that would be general levy, and the other funding source is about 19 million for the 2024. Again, that's be sanitary storm, parking, and TIF.
So it'd be very fair to look at this as a very preliminary document, right? Because we can't do a $31 million general levy bond.
Correct.
Okay, and that's why I was thrown off when I was looking at these numbers, and now that I hear you say it's preliminary,
Yep,
still a work in progress, okay.
correct, and whether or not there's something that could come off here, go into the operating budget, or vice versa, and then it would have to get added back to this, or we identify other funding sources. Or, again, council, of course, has the option to decide whether or not there's a project on here to help bring that number down. Maybe there's a project they can question, maybe that they don't recommend that it gets spent in 2024 and it gets pushed to another year.
Do you have a recommendation from bond council right now?
Yes, the recommendation, when they came to the finance committee, 2 meetings ago, they gave a recommendation of about 17 million for general levy. When I say recommendation, that is what, they did a financial management plan and they presented to us and they projected out, 20 or 30 years. And at that point, they were using a flat amount of about 14 million of 20-year borrowing and 3 million, or $4 million of notes. And so right now, the way they forecasted us, we're at about 17.3 million. So
We're
of course,
14 million over right now, notwithstanding other sources that might be identified.
correct. Historically, we usually have a couple, couple $1 million that is coming from fund balance.
Okay. Any other questions? I assume it's just refer to staff is on here, right?
Yes.
Alder Hutchinson?
Yes, just a matter of clarification, on the, two ladder trucks that are bolded. Just a quick reason why those are bolded, just for information.
I can start, and then Lynn could potentially step in. What was approved by council was $1,695,000 per vehicle. And since then, that was the recommendation, that's what they'd asked for, so they could put an order in. I think Lynn could probably speak to this. I do believe this is some additional equipment that would be on top of, the order for the ladder truck is already placed, so we know what the price of the ladder truck is. This would be the equipment. We could show it as a separate line item. We could show 1.6 million, 1,695,000, and then 300,000 or 400,000 dollars to finish outfitting that ladder truck. But however, Lynn, do you have anything more you would like to add to that?
Yeah, certainly. The Chief Knott had indicated that he wanted to allocate another 20% for the equipment for the rigs. So that includes not only the firefighting equipment, the electrical equipment, the computers on board, everything that we would need to make the rig operational, which we could, the other option would be a separate bonding item for the equipment alone, but it seems most efficient to just put it in with the rig.
I think we want to be transparent. It wasn't like the money has changed, because really the request was to put an order in for the ladder truck.
Yes.
So the truck needed to be on order, because it was about a 30-month lead time.
Yes.
And so in the meanwhile, when we're reviewing this, like, well, what about the equipment we typically add later? And that really wasn't brought at that time. So we could separate it and still show the ladder trucks at 1,700,000 each, and then 300,000 for equipment to outfit it, or they're combined together.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that. $400,000 in equipment. I know a squad car is pretty small compared to that, but a lot of their equipment transfers over to new squad cars. What is, are these rigs designed differently?
I would certainly defer to Chief Knott for specifics, but I do know that the apparatus would go into a reserve status and still
Oh,
need the
so we have
equipment
to-
that's
all
on
right,
them.
that makes
So
sense.
definitely some of the equipment can be moved to the new unit.
All right.
But it's, the old units are still gonna be in a reserve status.
All right, so the current rig goes into reserve status.
Yep.
The current reserve status rig is probably worth the scrap heap.
Yep.
And the equipment on it in the same kind of shape.
Correct.
All right, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Entertain a motion?
Motion to,
Refer to staff?
yeah.
Okay.
Second,
We have that motion by Galvin. It was a second by Brunette. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 6, consideration with possible action on approval of the Claims Committee report. Are there any questions on items contained in the report? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
second,
We have a motion by Galvin, a second by Hutchinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, motion carries. F1, informational 2023 contingency account is at $244,643.36. Item 2, the next Finance Committee meeting will be held on November 28th, 2023. Please keep in mind that the joint Finance and Personnel Committee is November 2nd at 3 p.m. Our budget meeting for the City Council is separated this year, and it will be on November 9th at 3 p.m. 4:30 p.m. Yep.
PM, and then on the 9th at a 4:30 meeting.
Wait, I'm sorry, so I got November 2nd at 3, and what's the next one?
You'll have the normal November 7th council meeting at 6, and then
Okay.
November 9th, you will also have a 4:30 budget meeting by the full council.
Yep, okay. I got
And then
that.
this Thursday is also the town hall presentation at the Titletown Tap,
Are they
starting at
serving?
6 p.m.
Are they serving before that meeting?
Serving, you could buy yourself a beverage,
You may
yes.
have a soda, yes.
But, he's been calling it beer and budget all along, so you can certainly have
Welcome to
a beverage
Wisconsin.
with your budget.
All right,
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved?
Second.
We have a motion by Galvin, or Hutchison, I don't know, second by Brunette. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
At least they recognized it. So was he playing with you the whole time?
That's a joint one.
I think so.
It's my